is Kamaguno, and today I'm doing a review for Arrow Home Invasion Season 1, Episode 20. So let's talk about this episode. This is the return episode from that little hiatus. It was 2 weeks. Felt pretty long, though, to me, honestly. It was kind of a long hiatus, but really it was a short hiatus. But finally Arrow is back, and the main plot is about this kid and his family. His parents get killed, so the kid actually ends up being with Laurel and Tommy and Oliver, and they try to protect him because this assassin's going out for him. And then Deadshot's in the middle of all of this, and you know that Dig and Deadshot doesn't have a really good relationship because Deadshot killed Dig's brother, so we get to see a little bit of that. That's pretty much what happens in this episode. That's the main plot. But let's talk about the little things that happen in this episode and see if I liked it. Well, first of all, I really enjoyed the assassin. He is Gunn from Angel, so that's awesome. Angel is one of my favorite TV shows, so it's nice to see him. I felt like, he was pretty good what he did. It's hard to see an actor you really like from one of your favorite TV shows because you're like, oh, he's so different. I think you have to be a really great actor to really get into the character. And say, alright, this is who he's playing. In this, I felt like he was overacting in some parts, but I think that was his character, so I think he did well in what he was doing. I think he played the character right. I think the character acted like that, so I think he did a good job with the character. So I did like the assassin. He did a good job. Deadshot, I don't think they really needed him in this episode. I just felt like we could have just concentrated on the home invasion part of this episode, which was the assassin. Deadshot, yeah, that's a continuing story, and I think they want him to make him a big villain. They wanted Vertigo, White China, and Deadshot. Those are the three ones they want to make big villains. But honestly, it's not working. I just don't think we care about them. And at least Deadshot has some connection to Dig, so I guess that's cool. But he didn't really add up in this whole episode. I think you could have really had a different episode with him, or just forget him totally, or develop him better. Because again, I just think one thing about this show is the villains aren't that great, but the one-shot villains, the ones that come like every once in a while, like the assassin in this episode, I think they're better because they're not promised to be in more episodes, and they tell their story and they go out. And I think some villains are good, and most of the recurring villains aren't that great, at least so far, and not memorable. And that's Deadshot, China White, Vertigo. I just don't think they're developed that much. They feel very two-dimensional. I felt that in this episode with that. But there's a lot of different subplots going on in this episode. I guess we'll talk about Thea and Roy, because those are a little bit of a smaller subplot, but still very interesting. We get to see Thea and Roy, their relationship is budding a little in this episode. They are boyfriend and girlfriend now, and Roy is not fixated, but he wants to find the hood, and Thea's like, you know, I love you. You know, that's a little quick. They just became boyfriend and girlfriend, but whatever. They are in this budding relationship, and he's like, alright, you know, I'm your girlfriend, I'm gonna go help you. So, you know, something I felt really, that whole scene, because it's towards the end where we get to see I'll help you, and I thought it was really charming. I do like the relationship, even though we haven't seen much of it. That's a relationship I am enjoying, and I do like those two characters, and I just see the Arrow family from them. I just see them as the sidekicks, or at least to be the sidekicks, and you know, hopefully that does happen. But I like the way they're going, because first of all, to find the hood, they're going to go on some adventures, and they're going to deal with some things. So I think this is going to just get closer. It's going to be really interesting to see, will Thea find out that her brother is actually the hood? What will Roy do? And I like what Roy said in this episode. It's like, I feel a connection to him. So you just feel that foreshadowing of these two characters maybe becoming part of the Arrow family in the long run, finding out that Oliver is the Arrow, or the hood, and I think that'll be very interesting. I want to see those characters develop a little more, and I think that's the way it could happen. Let's talk about Dig in this episode. Dig, it was the part of the episode where we get to see Deadshot. That was his story. Dig's getting upset that Oliver's not totally concentrated on this and keeps concentrating more on Laurel, because that's a big part of this episode, because Laurel is taking care of the kid with the other assassin, the kind of main villain in this episode. So he sees that, well, you care about Laurel more than this mission, so I have to go. So that's what happens at the end of the episode with Dig. I'm sure this is not going to last long. I think he's done this in the past already. I think he just needs to get his head on straight and maybe realize that Oliver does like Laurel, but it doesn't mean their friendship is not special. And one thing I recognize in this episode, actually, and I think this has to change, And I understand why they do it. But with Oliver and Dig's relationship outside the hood, you know, it is that bodyguard and Oliver relationship, you know, bodyguard and billionaire relationship. And I want like Dig, Felicity, and Oliver just to have a really good bond. And that means outside of the Arrow thing. They can make up some story of how they're friends. Or they can even say, you know, I'm with my bodyguard all the time, we became friends. I just feel like they're not friends, and I hate that because I want them to be friends and outside the hood and, you know, having a better relationship. And I see the relationship growing, but I would like to see that a little more. And I saw that in this episode because we actually saw a bodyguard millionaire acting, I guess, because they're not really those characters. Or, you know, they're pretending to be, you know, the bodyguard and the billionaire, but really they are friends or have the same mission. So, but I do want to see them grow, and I want to see that, hey, we could show that, you know, we are friends. So I think that'll make that group become closer, because I think the Arrow group does need to become closer. And we'll see when Dig comes back. Hopefully everything does become closer with this group. I want to be Arrow family, and I haven't seen that yet. But I think it is growing, and it's just season 1. So, yeah, that's what happens with Dig in this episode. Now, a big thing in this episode was Tommy and Laurel and Oliver. They're kind of love triangle, but they do it well in this episode. It's not a forced love triangle because Tommy realizes that Oliver still does like Laurel. And Oliver says, I'm not trying to get into your relationship, and I know Laurel will never be with me. She can't know I'm the hood. And Tommy's like, but if she did know you're the hood, she would love you. So it's kind of like a love triangle, but Oliver is definitely not trying to get into his relationship. But Tommy breaks up with Laurel, and Laurel's all upset because, first of all, she had this whole traumatic event happen to her with a home invasion with this assassin and the little kid. And then her boyfriend breaks up with her. But the one thing I like about Tommy, I think he's the most complex character so far in this whole show, honestly. Because we could see that he doesn't want to be friends with Oliver, and we see ex-friend, you know, ex-best friend, and then when he confronts Oliver, it's like, oh, well, you know, you love Laurel, and I don't really like that you're the hood. But because he broke up with Laurel, and that whole scene is like, I do care for Oliver. I can't tell him that, but I care for him. And that's why I feel like he's very complex, because we don't really know where he is right now, what's his mind frame is. And that's what I really liked about that whole Laurel breakup scene. It's just because it made that character more complex, because we don't know where he's at, especially since his father is the Dark Archer. You really need to know where this character is going. And you don't. I think that makes the mystery good and his character good, and has a couple of layers, which I think the show needs to have some layers to make us speculate. And I think the only thing we can really speculate about right now is Tommy, because he actually does have layers and we don't know exactly what he's doing. And I think that's one thing in season 2 in this show. They really need to build those layers to make the fans really excited for the show. Because for me, I like the show and I look forward to it, but I don't have that love for the show yet. And I really want I want the fandom to grow for this show and everyone to speculate. It's like, what's going to happen next? I think that's what this show needs, again, to grow some layers. That way people would speculate and love what happens. It's like, oh, I love that scene type of thing. And I don't think we've had that yet. I'm hoping the show does grow, and I think it has grown into that direction, especially right now with Tommy. He has a lot of layers, and I think you could really guess and speculate what his motives are. So I think that's probably my favorite part of this episode was Tommy, and again, exactly what are his motives. The beginning of the episode was kind of slow, but I think towards the end the action picked up, the story even picked up. We get a good cliffhanger with the flashback. Yafo made Oliver, Deathstroke, and his daughter all captured by, you know, the island people. So I think that's interesting. So the flashback's getting more interesting. We have 3 more episodes left. I heard it's going to be good. I don't know about the next episode, but I heard the last 2 episodes are supposed to be really explosive, really good. So I want to see what happens with Arrow. I think it could be interesting. I think this episode wasn't the best, but it definitely had some stuff here. Again, the beginning was a little slow, but once you get towards the end, there's a lot of story. I think it's some speculations. Again, especially with those last couple of scenes, you get to see speculations for all these characters and where they're going to go next. So tell me in the comments below, what did you think? What do you think is going to happen in this next 3 episodes? What do you think about Tommy? You know, Thea and Roy, do you think they'll find the hood? What do you think about Laurel? Is she totally depressed after this. Tell me in the comments below. This Comic Uno. I'll have another review for Arrow next Wednesday, and there's 3 more episodes left, so hopefully they are awesome to make us really speculate and really excited for Season 2. So, I'll see you guys later, and this Comic Uno. Guys, don't forget to follow me on Twitter for Comic Uno and the Rant Situations. Bye, guys.